Hey, how you doing? This is your girl Tysheen. I am back with another video. Yes, Panama. Panama. Yes, so we're gonna learn about Panama. Let's get straight to it.
Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbs. Panama, the country that links the north and south, the gateway between two worlds and two oceans. This little sliver of land has and still plays such a powerful role in the entire Western Hemisphere. Not bad. Now let's find it on the map now, shall we? Panama has a saying for itself, Punto del Mundo, Corazón del Universo, or Bridge of the World, Heart of the Universe. And with good reason. First of all, Panama is the narrow isthmus that joins the North and Southern American continents, attached to the very end of Costa Rica and on top of Colombia, straddling the Caribbean Sea and Atlantic Ocean to the east and the Pacific to the west. Because of its curved shape, this makes Panama the only place in the world where you can see both a sunrise on the Pacific and a sunset on the Atlantic. At its narrowest point, the country is only about 30 miles or 48 kilometers wide. The country is divided, interestingly, into 10 provinces, 3 indigenous regions, and 2 indigenous municipalities within 2 of the provinces. We'll talk more about this in a bit. Off their coast, they have about 1,500 islands, including the largest island in Central America, Coiba Island, just off the southwest coast. The capital of Panama is Panama City, of course, where about half the population lives, and holds the largest airport, Tucumán International, just on the eastern outskirts of the city. The second largest airport would be the Bocas del Toro Airport on the popular resort island. Otherwise, the remaining airports are mostly just small regional airstrips. Nonetheless, much of Panama's economy is based on the famous Panama Canal, built by the Americans for shipping and passenger vessels. The largest ports, of course, being the port of Balboa in Panama City, which connects via canal all the way to the port of Colón in the north side of the country. Along the entire canal runs the Panama Canal Railway, the second most vital transport line after the canal, again built by the Americans, predating the canal by about half a century. Otherwise, Panama is kind of where the famous Pan-American Highway gets cut off. People trying to travel the world's longest motorable road to Colombia will have no luck, as this entire area of marshy forest known as the Darien Gap is where all the roads for about 60 miles or 100 kilometers cuts off. The dense forest area
It is cut off. Damn. I wonder if they did that on purpose. They're like, no, you're not coming over here. No, that's not. And they're like, no, not like that. Not like that, though.
in itself kind of acts as like the border with Colombia, as no demarcation line is drawn. The furthest you can go is the town of Yaviza, and from there, good luck. Most people just take a boat off the coast to Colombia. 2 interesting things to note: the American Society of Civil Engineers has named the canal as one of the modern 7 wonders of the world. The canal was actually once considered U.S. territory and finally relinquished in 1999. Also, Panama is the second largest duty-free zone in the world after Hong Kong, so that's a thing. Oh, and at one point, the Scottish tried to colonize Panama, but they grossly miscalculated the size of the mountains and the heat. Anyway, I asked some of you guys, the Panamanian geograpeeps, to list some of the top notable sites to check out in case if you visit. Some of them include places like the Casco Viejo and San Jose Church Gold Altar, the Panama Canal Museum, Cinto Costera, Boquete Town supposedly has the best coffee, the Biodiversity Museum, the Coiba and Sabaco Islands, Anton Valley Hot Springs, the Embera Indigenous Villages, Fort San Lorenzo, Plaza del Francia Causeway, Plastic Bottle Village, and the Seafood Market. So that just about does it. Of course, we could have mentioned a lot of other crazy amazing waterfalls and forests that they have here. Hey, they even have a forest with square-shaped tree trunks. But that's the natural beauty, which means we gotta move on to Panama is one of those countries that just kind of respects nature, you know? They got a good thing going on, so why try to taint it? First of all, the country is actually located in its own mini tectonic plate known as the Panama Plate, smashed in between the Cocos, Nazca, and Caribbean plates. This in return subjects Panama to occasional earthquakes, but not much volcanic activity. The tallest peak in the country is actually a volcano, Volcan Baru, but it has not erupted in hundreds of years. It is part of the Tebasara mountain chain, the longest in the country, and on the east side you find the San Blas, Sapo, and Darien mountain chains, which extend all the way to Colombia. Otherwise, just a small skip east, you can find the largest lake, the man-made artificial lake Gatun, created by the Gatun Dam on the Chagres River. This lake, of course, assists the transporting of ships along the canal across the country. A skip further east, you find the longest river, though, the Chucunaque, which flows south into the unknown thick forests of the Darien Gap. Otherwise, the country has 3 main gulfs: the Mosquito Gulf in the north, and the Azuero Peninsula splits off the Gulf of Chiriqui and the Gulf of Panama from each other, effectively making the country look like the shape of a limp hammer. Now, of course, the abundance of nature and landforms gives Panama much more of an advantage than just the canal. And with that, it's time for my triple shot espresso break, which means it's time for Noah.
Let's do it, shall we?
Panama has in recent decades seen a massive construction and business boom, with a huge expat community moving in. They had 12 of the 15 tallest skyscrapers in Latin America.
Ooh, I still have the tallest one though.
For now.
Anyway, not only are they one of the fastest growing economies in Latin America, they are an incredibly popular spot for retirees. This is one of the reasons why you don't see too many Panamanians leaving their country. There's kind of more stability and opportunity available in contrast to some of their neighbors. Most of the economic activity in Panama, at about 80%, is based in the service sector, and the canal alone provides a significant portion, mostly through tolls. I almost said trolls. Tolls are based on size, cargo, and type of vessel crossing. And the most ever paid was over $376,000 from a Norwegian cruise ship. Agriculture only makes up about 7% of their GDP, with crops like coffee, bananas, sugarcane, and coconuts. The country has about 1,000 bird species, including the national animal, the harpy eagle, as well as hundreds of mammal species ranging from giant anteater to sloth. Over a third of Panama is natural park, which helps assist these animals from going endangered. There's even a cool turtle sanctuary run by this guy. And to top it all off, they have about 9 months of rain, which is why building that canal was so difficult. It kept getting flooded and people died. Anyway, food! Some of the top dishes you guys, the Panamanian geography suggested we mention, include things like pollo, carne maniola, Panamanian-style thick tortillas, ropa vieja, bien me sabe, fried fish like pargo frito with patacones.
That look good.
Sauce? Sauce? You guys ever seen Epic Mealtime?
I ain't gonna lie, I love me some fried fish, and that fish look good. Oh, looks so good.
They would do that, like, we got some sauce. And the national dish, sancocho. If you look
Ooh, that
close,
look
you
good
can tell
too.
some of these dishes have a somewhat Caribbean flair. And that's where the story gets interesting, because now we talk about the people.
Thank you, Noah. Now, Panama sticks out from the rest of Latin America because it doesn't really quite belong or identify with either Central America or South America. They never were part of the Federated States of Central America, and they fought to break away from Colombia back when it was Gran Colombia. So it's like they wanted space from everyone.
Everybody.
In any case, the country is made up of about 4 million people and is the least populated nation in Central America. About 65% of the population is mestizo, that's mixed with native and European to some extent. About 13% of the population is native Amerindian, the largest groups being the Ngabe, Kuna, and Embera. About 16% of the population is black or mixed black, and the remainder at about 6% are white Panamanians. They use the US dollar but Balboa coins as their currency. They use the American type A and B plug outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road. Now, if you noticed in the political section, we mentioned how the country has 3 indigenous regions and 2 indigenous municipalities. These areas are designated for the native population of Panama, which has one of the highest percentages of Amerindians per population in the Americas after Bolivia and Guatemala. These groups still live in traditional communities to varying degrees of modernization. Of course, Spanish is the official language. Panamanians, though, do have their own distinct dialect. For example, here are some of you guys, the Panamanian geographers, explaining.
Hello everyone, my name is Alma. Here in Panama, people likes to mix English with Spanish. For example, que sopa, like que sopa Miguelito, que sopa Maria.
They also use many English words today, like friend or pretty. So you could say, hey friend, ¿qué sopa? ¿Cómo así que rompiste con la novia? There are also many expressions that describe sadness or disappointment. For example, ay la vida or chuzo.
Bye bye.
Thank you. However, like Costa Rica, it is not uncommon to hear English spoken, especially by the younger people and people in the cities. Panama is one of the most English proficient countries in Latin America. And it all kind of has to do with the fact that the US kind of, well, yeah.
Oh, wouldn't it be great if we could build a canal?
Come on.
Maybe later.
I tried to give it a go, but it's not possible. The mountains are too tall and the rain too much.
I'll give it a go. Too many people have died and the rain keeps messing it up. I'm abandoning this gig.
Okay, Panama, you're part of our country now.
Can we finally build that canal?
Most likely not.
Are you kidding me? Hey, Panama, USA here. Bam! 1903. Now, I just ask that you give me the rights to the canal in a sovereign zone. We'll split the profits.
Did you just forcibly ask me out on a date?
Yeah, I do that all the time. But, we'll break up in a few decades, and in the end, you'll thank me.
And that's basically how Panama started speaking English better. Otherwise, what does it mean to be Panamanian? Well, that question comes from a lot of backstory, because even for population, Panama is an incredibly diverse nation. And the quickest way I can summarize it, they have the Hispanic, the Black, and the Amerindian groups that all dominate the culture. And to give you a quick rundown, here's Hannah with culture stuff.
You're still here?
Sure.
marriage.
I guess we're doing this together again. Within Panama, the black and mixed spot communities are descendants from either slaves brought over from the 16th century or Afro-Antillians that immigrated from places like Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad to work on the rail lines back in the 1840s.
Since then, they've played an important role in society and have brought much to the Panamanian identity through things like music and art. Many have become famous figures, including Princess Angela of Liechtenstein.
The indigenous community is made up of many groups and tribes, but about half of them are comprised of these two groups.
The Kuna and Embera Wunan are very famous peoples that gets lots of attention as well for their colorful textiles and rituals.
Most of these people live in the 3 indigenous regions or 2 indigenous municipalities. They have their own languages, housing, and lifestyles set apart from the rest of Panama's westernized society.
If you're lucky, you might be able to witness a Nuchucana healing ritual with wooden figurines for the Kuna people.
And tauga nut, or vegetable ivory carvings by the Embera people, are highly prized, as it is a sustainable and safe substitute for ivory.
The Nabe people have a game called Balseria, which is technically outlawed by the government, but it involves throwing sticks at your opponent's legs until they give up.
Ouch. Quick side note, the Panama hat was not invented in Panama, but rather Ecuador.
Baseball is their favorite sport. However, soccer, or football, has always been number 2, and in fact, they were so happy, it was kinda like,
Hey, congrats, Panama. You made it to FIFA.
Yeah, I did. I owe you, man. You kind of helped me get there. I should probably give you my Chiriqui province in gratitude.
Well, actually, I could always use...
Yeah, not gonna happen.
And it is said that out of the whole year, only about 30 days do not have some kind of national festivity, depending on the province.
yeah, Panamanians love partying with music, which brings us to
course,
Keith's
yeah,
music
they
segment.
ain't known for that.
Ugh,
What is wrong with Keith?
everything.
Although you can find all genres in Panama, it's interesting to see how they've fused everything together from all their people groups. For one, a Caribbean undertone will always kind of be around. Reggae, salsa, ska, calypso, and dancehall have all been around since the 20th century, although cumbia and salsa have always been their go-tos, with this dude being probably the most famous Panamanian salsa musician. Nonetheless, folk music known as típico is always a go-to with notable artists like these guys. And the tamborito dance with costumes can always be seen, especially at festivals. Although reggaeton is said to have been invented in Puerto Rico, reggae in Espanol, or Spanish reggae, originated in Panama, which is seen by many as a precursor to reggaeton, with leading artists like these guys. Thanks, I'm Keith.
Thanks, Keith. All right, and that means we gotta round off this section like we always do with extremely condensed history and famous people. Amerindians, colonization, independence from Spain, joined Gran Colombia, French failed to build a canal, American forces came in and stopped the Colombian forces from stopping the Panamanian revolt. Independence, canal is finally built. Couple conflicts with the Americans after they built the canal.
1914.
Torrijos and Carter agreed to leave the canal. President Torrijos died in a plane crash.
Some are suspicious about it. I gotta look that up. Why people suspicious about it? If you're from Panama, comment below. Let me know why are some people suspicious about it. I'm curious.
Noriega dictatorship. Guillermo Andara wins the elections, but Noriega was kind of like not accepting it. U.S. invasion to remove Noriega. Fair democratically elected presidents. Rise of the economy. And here we are today. Some famous people you guys, the Panamanian geography suggested we mention include Justine Pasek, you missed Universe 2002. All these athletes. So many of them. All these musicians. There's a lot of them. Zonians, or Americans that were born in the Panama Canal Zone back when it was U.S. territory, include people like Jordana Brewster, John McCain, Hulk Hogan, yeah, even Hulk Hogan, and Lori Hearing, a ton of writers like these people, and of course the list of famous politicians goes on and on like all these people. And there's so much more we could have mentioned or expounded upon, but we don't really have a lot of time, so if I miss anything, you guys let us know in the comments. Otherwise, we gotta finish off this episode with... So as you can probably tell by now, Panama is in a rather unique position diplomacy-wise. Many Latin Americans kind of see them as the one that got influenced by Americans, and the fast-growing with skyscrapers one, or the, I don't quite know what to make of them, but I guess I trust them kind of guy. As a nation linking 2 continents plus having Caribbean ties, Panama has a wide range of people on their guest list. For one, many people in the black community have ties to the Caribbean islands like Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad and Tobago, as their ancestors moved from these nations in the 19th century and played an important important role in the construction of the canal. Today,
It's so crazy. Y'all know that my parents are from Jamaica, but I remember my great grandmother had told me that we do have family in Panama. I just never met them, so probably do. We probably do have. I do know on my father's side, I have family who lives in Cuba and Costa Rica. Costa Rica. Panama. My great grandmother told me I have family in Panama. I just don't know who they are, so hopefully, man, I'll see if I could see who they are. I don't know. My family is huge. I have a very, very big family, so
many still have family
gonna
and
take
travel to
time.
these places as well. As the former colonizer, Spain still holds close ties, and many Spanish people love to visit or move or retire to Panama with its relatively easygoing, chill atmosphere. The USA has an interesting back and forth love and hate relationship. On a social, political, and economic scale, they've played an integral part in developing much of what is now Panama through not only occupying the canal for nearly a century, but building up the infrastructure and things like roadways and rail lines. The Noriega thing made things kind of messy, and Americans always kind of intervene whether or not the Panamanians feel like they need them or not. Nonetheless, Americans...
Why do we always gotta help somebody? I mean, there's no wrong helping people. But sometimes we gotta learn how to mind our business sometimes. Like, you know,
love retiring to Panama. It's relatively easy for them with the growing English proficiency and shared currency, and many Panamanians have family in the US as well. For their closest friends though, most Panamanians I have talked to have said either Costa Rica or Colombia. For one, Colombia shares a lot of history. At one point, they voluntarily joined Colombia and became a department under Gran Colombia, even though they broke apart and still kept close ties. Both nations love visiting and moving to each other's nations, marrying one another. They love Colombian telenovelas, culture, and food. Out of everyone in Central America though, Costa Rica is probably their best friend. Costa Rica keeps everything neutral and plays it safe. Panama likes that. There's really no drama, and whenever they need someone to back them up, Costa Rica will always be there for them. In conclusion, Panama truly embodies the bridge between two worlds. It's diverse.
that's love right there. That's love.
It's fast growing, kind of English speaking, and it's a Latin American country with a somewhat Singapore-esque vibe to it. Let's see where the bridge leads to in the future. Stay tuned. Papua New Guinea is coming up.
I enjoyed this video. Comment below if you're from Panama. If you're from Panama, hi. Welcome to my channel. But while you're here, subscribe. Okay? And I see you lovely people. Yeah, take care. Peace.